Okay, and welcome back, everybody. We are getting ready to. I hope we're going to be finishing up the Digger Cuda on this episode. We're getting ready to spray all these parts chrome. We're going to be using the Ace. This is the Ace Chrome Aluminum. And this is the best chrome paint I have discovered. The one with the dull cap actually sprays the best chrome. You'll see in a second here. I've got all these parts de-chromed. These were originally chromed, and I stripped them and fixed all the seams, and now we're getting ready to spray them. And that's what's next. So, I also wanted to touch on this. The engine there, originally I painted gold. I'm going to be changing the color of that to red. And then all the other parts of it back there, this is all going to be red. I'm going to even paint the rear axle red, and so we're gonna have red and chrome, and maybe that's all gonna be done in the next scene. So anyway, getting ready to get all these pieces. I just wanted to show them before they were chromed to show the difference between chromed and not chromed. So here comes the next scene, and there we go. So, pretty happy with the way those came out. They look very metal. So, oh yeah, so, and also painted the engine red. And just a quick note on the red there. This is, do you guys remember this paint here? This was the Walmart paint that you could get for 99 cents. And it was the best paint in the world. I used the black, just cans and cans of the gloss black. It sprayed perfect. I've got an example of it around here somewhere, but I don't quite see it. The white was good, the red was good. They only came in like 3 colors, but that is what I've got, what I painted here, and yeah, just as I remember, comes out beautiful. And it worked super cheap, really good results. So what did they do? They stopped making it. And I mean, they still have a 99 cents or $1.29 spray paint, but it's terrible paint now. And just as you would expect to pay for $1. And so these are gone. Fortunately, I have 2 cans of this red, and I just started the first can just now. Old cans, but I'm very happy with the chrome parts now. Even the fuel cell there, looking really good, and I just got to do a touch up on the where I was holding on to these pieces. And boy, that engine's gonna look good when it's built up. When I get in there and butterflies, I gotta go in there and paint those butterflies. Yeah, can't quite get in there. Anyway, right there. So that's gonna look good. And then getting ready to, getting a glare on my screen here. Can't see what I'm doing. Okay. Also got the rest of the parts out here. Front tires, wheels, getting ready to do that. Parachute pack, disc brakes, and boy, I got to get all the seams off of those exhaust pipes. And I did wire the distributor, so I'm getting ready to wire up this engine, and yeah, things moving now. Should be pretty exciting for the next scene. So let's go there now. Okay, and moving right along, we have, what have I been working on? I guess I thought there was more, but it's basically the engine is most of the way done, not completely done. Like, for example, I got to get in there and paint those butterflies. But this the engine is all put together, it's all glued together, but it's not glued in the frame yet. You can see I actually wired it. And happy with the way it came out. And I really like the red engine and the red axle. That, of course, is not glued in yet. But that will be all glued in shortly. The fuel filters are glued in, the tank is glued in, and we're moving right along. I have to finish preparing and painting these little detail parts, and then it will be a matter of just gluing them all in on the same day. And I think this is probably, well, not quite yet. At some point I'm going to be gluing the chassis onto this belly pan, because it's going to have to be glued on there. And that's where we are at this moment, and let's move on. Okay, and so here's where we're at now. I've got these pieces painted, and I looked them all up on the Google Images just for a better guess at how they're supposed to be painted, and this is what I came up with. Also not painted are these little things yet, but they are just basically part of the frame. They go in between here and here. So they're just going to be a little cross member in there. They'll be the same color as the frame, which is steel color. And so I'm going to glue them in and then paint them, just so something's holding them. And here we've got the differential is glued in now, the rear axle, and the rear seat is glued in. And so, wow, you know, look at the, can you imagine driving one of these things? If you can just envision yourself, you'd be sitting right there with your legs over the axle, and I guess you'd just be praying that that differential doesn't explode. But, oh yeah, this top piece, I had to break it off. That's this top piece right here, because I had glued it on when I was painting the frame and realized you can't get the seat in if you do that. So I broke it off, glued the seat in, and now I can glue that back on. And at this point I'm going to be gluing all these little tiny pieces in, which is going to be a little bit fiddly, but I'll get them in there, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, and so here's where we are now. I don't recall where I left off, but this is where we are now. The whole front is glued on. The engine is glued in. Oh, I'll show all that in a second. But what I wanted to show right off the bat, you see that big seam there? See how it's got that gaping. Now the body is straight. If you remember the history of this, the first body was horribly warped and I couldn't correct it. And they sent me a new body, and this one is straight. And so it was frustrating me when I saw that it's not sitting down flat, and right here is the problem. See there? Right there. It's hitting right there. And it was hitting worse than that. And, you know, there's different ways that you can solve that. You can take a big gouge out of the body. I don't want to do that. And so I went to look to see what on earth is happening, and I'll show you what's going on. Get the body off. And here is a look at it. See those supports? Oh, I didn't have my pointer ready. These supports here are sticking down, so if you glue the frame onto the pan flat, everything would be fine, the body would go on. But these supports, I'll take them off in a second so you can see, but they hang down below the frame, and that is hitting the pan and keeping the body from setting down nice. So my solution to it, I'll take that off to show you what's happening. My solution is to gouge the floor pan in the shape of, you see where I've got it etched. Basically I just traced where those support arms line up, and I'm going to have to gouge, and I've been gouging, and that's deep already right there on that side, and I'm going to probably have to go all the way through. And it is what it is. How often do you turn a dragster over? You're not going to be able to see it. And I'll paint everything black, but I mean these are going to have to be huge gouges, channels dug into the body. I'll never be able to get this back on with one hand. But as you can see here, they hang way down. The chassis is meant to glue straight to the pan, but those support arms, and you can see where I started, I was going to just sand away some of that support, but I was going to have to sand it completely off and it was going to look terrible, so I decided, nope, I've got to gouge the pan. And you can see I've got a long way to go. It's going to have to go all the way through. And before all that's done, I wanted to show what I was doing. And that's that. Otherwise, it's looking awfully good, doesn't it? Got all this stuff in here. Minor touch-ups. Let's see here. All that's in. Engine's looking good. It's glued in. All that stuff is glued in. That control arm right there. There are two of these linkages. See there? Two of these linkages come in the kit. Here's the other one right over here. As you can see, one is long, one is short. And I couldn't figure out what was going on because the instruction doesn't explain everything. And as it turns out, the short one is for some other version of the kit where there's probably no body on it. And the long one is to reach all the way to the edge of the pan and out to run that big long linkage that's sitting right there for steering. So I have to take this one off and put this one on, and that's no problem. Otherwise, we've got an issue with the tire. The rear tires are not on yet for good reason. Look at that. See how they're bulged out on one side? So that's the wheel side that you'll see, and then this is the inner wheel, and you can see how it goes together there. That goes into there. You can see the outline of it there, and holds the whole thing together. And they want it to be a snug fit, so the radius, the diameter of this, is nice and wide, so they can press in there and stay in there. But what it does is it bulges out the tire on the inside. So I'm going to have to get really, as you can see when it's out, it goes down. I'm going to have to get really creative, put that on some kind of a pole or a dowel, and get it to spin and sand it down symmetrically, perfectly symmetrically, so that it fits in there, and I'll glue it in there, and so that I can start stuffing paper in there to get the centers to bulge out to make that look proper. So there's going to be a lot of work that goes on these rear tires, and that is why they're not on yet. Anyway, they should be on by the next scene. It'll seem easy. See you there. Okay, moving right along, we are working on the tires, and man, oh man, what a pain. So as you can see here, I have started stuffing paper in there, but let me explain. So it's a two-part wheel. There's the two parts there, and when you glue them together, you got one big long wheel. And here's the one that's not done yet. You can see how they did it. You've got that kind of a sleeve in there, and then this piece here goes right on the top there, thus completing the inner sleeve. And so you glue those two pieces together and you glue these two pieces together, and that's what makes that happen. Unless, of course, you've got disastrous tire warpage. Then you've got to stuff paper in there, and then you can't, so to get the paper in there, you've got to glue the wheel together, and that's what I've got there. That wheel is glued together in there. And then you're never going to get the back piece on, so you got to cut part of that off. So I'm only going to have the top piece there, but I have been able to get my paper in there, and as you can see there, it is filled up now. You don't have quite the bin there. Now right at the end, you have that. Where's, come on, show up, where are you? I'm trying to, there we go. Right there, you got a little bit of a dip, but that is the equivalent of a sinkhole in vinyl, and that will not come out. Let me tell you, there is paper stuffed in that part and stuffed in there well. It's not going to pop out. But this part did, and so it's bulged out now, and fortunately the tire is very thick and rolling right there. So if I have to sand a lot to get the warp, a little bit of warp that's still there, if I have to sand a lot, it's no problem. I've got a lot of vinyl to work with. It's a thick. Look how thick. Every part of this tire is thick, so I've got, I can get that smooth. Just wanted to show what's happening. It took a lot. I had to sand the edge of the insert there, and I had to sand the, what happened here? Okay. I had to sand the inside of the tire because there was a ring in there that was, of course, to probably to keep the back plate, the back part of it, from falling down in there. But it was up too high, and so when you put it flush, what that was doing was pushing the tire out even more. So I had to grind the inside of the tire and the insert to get this to be straight. Otherwise it was pushing out the back side way, and ironically now we have the front side, looks a little higher. But the back side was, if you remember the previous scene, it was way up there, like a, you know, bad. Anyway, in the next scene, now I can finally move forward and pack the other one with paper and sand the daylights out of it. And let me show you how I do that. I've got this thing here. Look at that. It's for a mouse sander. And this is a 50 grit. Look at that. Major, serious sander. And what I do is I just put it on the mouse sander, put the mouse sander upside down, and I just roll the tire around it. I might film that. And then that will sand it smooth. Other than that, I have got the headers ready. As you can see there, I drilled out the ends. And they were kind enough to put the push marks, ejector pin marks, right there at the curve on the top side where they would be seen. Thank you, MPC. And I worked on them, and I thought they were gone, but then they show up again through there. But it's no problem because of the way they mount. They go down through that hole and then curve outwards. So where those ejector pin marks are actually right on the curve of the body underneath and hidden. So good. Anyway, not much left to do. Just got to finish off these tires. And by the way, here's the big surprise that I have discovered. Watch. This is great. See there? It rubs on the body. So, nice, you know? So we'll see how much vinyl I sand off the tire, but I may actually have to open up this wheel well a little bit more because, what do you know, the tires are a little too big. And after that, just put the parachute pack on, put the tires on, put the headers on, and then it's fine. Oh, I forgot to show. So this is what's happening with the this disaster on the front end. Let me show. So it took a lot of gouging to get that to set straight. Look at that. And see there where it's yellow? That is what you call as far as you can go, because that is paint from the other side. And incredibly, it didn't actually sand through. See there? The only thing left is paint in that spot. But deep, 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 deep grooves. But it does finally sit down in there correctly. I think it's in there. Yeah, there we go. And then the body can go on properly. Which is not gonna, there it goes. See there? Finally, finally, finally on there right. But man, what a pain. Okay, almost done. Next scene really should be it. Or maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Let's hope. Alright, so this is where we're at now. Good grief. I mean, my, that was a lot of sanding. Fortunately, there was a lot of rubber to work with. As you can see, they're both sitting flat now. And I took probably a 1/16 or in some cases, like near the edge, an 1/8 of an inch off. That's just crazy, guys. I mean, figure out the tires. If that's the mold that came with it from years ago, just, you know, make different tires for it, or go with something else in a different set. Come up with something different, because that's not fun model building. But, you know, they're okay, so they're correct now. Right there, as you can see, look at that crazy white stuff that shows up. When you sand down that far in the vinyl, you find surprises like that. Anyway, I just wanted to show those tires are straight now. We're about to put them on. Here on the body, we've got the parachute pack on. And, oh yeah, so got the steering linkage on. We're getting real close here. So, just got to glue these back tires on. I've got to do some touch up with some black here. And at the same time, I've got to paint the shaker. And anywhere else where it just needs a little bit of black touch up. I can't imagine where. And good eye. Yes, you spotted the 53 Ford is on deck. It's getting ready. It just wants to get started. As soon as this Digger Cuda moves out of here, that 53 Ford takes over. Okay, so let's glue the tires on and any other things, and final scene has to be the final scene. I mean the next scene, final scene, you know what I mean. Let's do that. Okay, so here's the new problem. We knew we were going to have a new problem. Right there. Yeah. These tires are a little bit too big for the kit, and even ground down as much as they are, we've got a tire rub. It fit on the bottom part of the pan, but the front is hitting, and that is hitting on both sides. It's actually hitting harder on the other side. And no, you can't just slide the body forward, because it's all the way forward. Now at this point in the game, if I had caught this way earlier, I may have done something differently. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the Dremel, and I am just going to try to taper that as best as I can, and we're going to grind it off. We're going to grind off 1/16 and see if that does it. On both sides. Try to make it look kind of circular. Let's see what happens. Okay, and here we go. I am going to call this done, or as done as it's going to be. Of course, this kit had its share of problems, but, you know, the subject matter is just so cool that it's all forgivable. I mean, it had major problems, but the end result is this, you know? So, and all the way through it, I knew it was going to be really neat, so it was all forgivable. And of course, like I had mentioned before, there's more in the series, but I have only 2 of them. I've got the Stingaree, which is a Corvette, and I think it's called a Bugaboo, which is a Volkswagen Beetle, both exactly the same kit, I think, with their stretched bodies. And I will be building those, going into them knowing that they're going to have major problems like this, but it's alright. Anyway, pretty darn happy with it. Happy to see it done. And I just took a bunch of pictures of it. I think this video is going to be pretty long, so I'll probably do a separate, short little tiny video of just a slideshow. Maybe, yeah, you know, maybe I'll do a longer slideshow. I'm going to bring the tarantula back out and maybe, like, during the day, take some pictures outside with it. With the tarantula. That'd be pretty cool. So that'll do it. That'll be in a separate video. But let me get the body off of it. I don't think anything's changed since the last scene. But, what was it that was taking so long? I can't remember. Oh, it was the wheel wells. Hopefully you saw that the wheel wells are clearing the tires now. And, you know, sorry the video is long, but I mean, there was a lot of how-to on there. There was, you know, I wanted to show how to do the tires for the immense number of tires that are that bad that will come your way. And that's one solution for fixing it. Aftermarket tires would also be a good solution, but in my case, my aftermarket tires were too big, way too big, weren't going to work. So I had to go to the mat on it. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the series. It will be a little bit before I go and do another dragster. We're going to be moving on to Ron's truck here, sitting there ready to go. And completely haven't started that yet, but I will. And this one's going to move into the case. So, hope you liked it, everybody. And everybody have a good one and stay safe. And now that awkward 20 seconds for the end screens.